Washington in front, eyes fixed on the fight, boots on frozen ground, orders cut the air. The Delaware is black and they are coming there. Winter holds its breath, Christmas almost gone. One hot river crossing and the dawn is on. Cross the Delaware, cross the Delaware. Christmas night we raise. Cross the Delaware, cross the Delaware. Trenton in surprise. Hey. Ahead, ice under every step, then move through the dark with no room left to rest. A hush before the shout, a spark before the flame, then Washington strikes hard and changes all the game. Winter holds its breath, Christmas almost gone. One hot river crossing, then the dawn is on. Break fast, they turn and run for home. Snow falls on the field, but the fear is all their own. From river to the stars, from struggle to the shore. God bless America forevermore.
All right. God bless everybody. So today we're going to do Genesis 30, 31, and 32. Before we get started, let us pray. Father in heaven, I thank you, Lord. I thank you for all you have done. I thank you for the people that are going to be watching. I thank you for allowing me to do this, Lord. May be your words come out of my mouth. May the people that hear this be blessed, Lord. May those who need help, who need you, Lord, accept you and cry out to you, Lord. And may you bless them and deliver them from whatever hardships they have. In the name of Jesus, amen. All right, guys. Let's get started with Genesis chapter 30. When Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she envied her sister and said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I will die." And Jacob became very angry with Rachel, and he said, "Am I in God's stead? Who has denied you children?" And she said, "See here, take my maid Bilhah and have intercourse with her. And when the baby comes, she shall deliver it upon my knees, that I may have her, that, that by her may also have children." And she gave Bilhah her maid as a secondary wife, and Jacob had intercourse with her, and Bilhah became pregnant and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, "God has judged and vindicated me, as and has heard my plea, and has given me a son." So she named him Dan, which is judged. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, with mighty wrestlings in prayer to God, "I have struggled with my sister and have prevailed." So she named him the second son Bilhah bore, Naphtali, the struggle. When Leah saw that she had ceased to bear, she gave Zipporah her maid to Jacob as a secondary wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "Victory and good fortune have come," and she named him Gad, which is fortune. Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Jacob her second son. And Leah said, "I am happy, for women will call me blessed, happy, fortunate, to be envied." And she named him Asher, which is happy. Now Reuben went at the time of wheat harvest and found some mandrakes, love apples, in the fields, and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Give me, I pray you, so of your son's mandrakes." But Leah answered, "It is not enough that you have taken my husband, without your taking away my son's mandrakes also." And Rachel said, "Jacob shall sleep with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must sleep with me tonight, for I have certainly paid your hire with my son's mandrakes." So he slept with her that night. And God heeded Leah's prayer, and she conceived and bore Jacob her fifth son. Leah said, "God has given me my hire, because I have given my maid to my husband." And she called his name Ishah, which is hired. And Leah became pregnant and again bore Jacob six sons. And Leah said, "God has endured me with a good marriage gift from my husband. Now will I dwell with will he dwell with me and regard me as his wife in reality, because I have bore him six sons." And she named him Zebulun, dwelling. Afterwards she bore a daughter and called her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel and answered her pleading, and made it possible for her to have children. And now, for the first time, she became pregnant and bore a son, and she said, "God has taken away my reproach, disgrace, and humiliation." And she called his son, and she called his name Joseph. May he add, and said, "May the Lord add to me another son." When Rachel had borne Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away, that I may go to my own place and country. Give me my wives and children, for whom I have served, and let me go, for you know the work which I have done for you." And Laban said to him, "If I have found favor in your sight, I pray you do not go, for I have learned my experience and from my omens and divination, that the Lord has favored me with blessings on your account." And he said, State your salary, and I will give it. Jacob answered him, You know, I have served you, and how your possessions, your cattle, and your sheep and goats have fared with me, for you have had little before I came, and it has increased and multiplied, and abundantly the Lord has favored you with blessings wherever I turn. But now, when shall I provide for my own house also? Laban said, What shall I give you? And Jacob said, You shall not give me anything. If you will do this one thing for me, of which I am about to tell you, and I will again feed and take care of your flock. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from it every speckled and spotted animal, and every black one among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and such shall be my wages. So later, when the matter of wages is brought before you, my fair dealing will be evident and answer for me every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and black among the sheep, if found with me, shall be counted as stolen. And Laban said, Good, let it be done as you say. But that same day Laban removed the he goats that were streaked and spotted, and all the she goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had white on it, and every black lamb, and put them in charge of his sons. And he set a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob, and Jacob was left in care of the rest of Laban's flock. But Jacob took fresh rods of popular and almond and plane trees, and peeled white streaks in them, exposing the white end of rods. Then he set rods which he had peeled in front of the flocks in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink. And since they bred and conceived when they came to drink, the flocks bred and conceived in sight of the rods, and brought forth lambs and kids, streaked, speckled, and spotted. Jacob separated the lambs as he had done with the peeled rods. He also set the faces of the flock towards the street, and all of the dark in the new flock of Laban. And he put his own droves by themselves, and did not let them breed with Laban's flock. And whenever the stronger animals were breeding, Jacob laid the rods in the watering troughs before the eyes of the flock, that they might breed and conceive among the rods. But when the sheep and goats were feeble, he omitted putting the rods there. So the feeble animals were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. Thus the man increased and became exceedingly rich, and had many sheep and goats and maidservants, men servants, camels, and donkeys. Jacob heard Laban's son complaining. Jacob has taken away, when Genesis 31, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's. He has acquired all his wealth and honor. And Jacob noticed that Laban looked at him less favorably than before. Then the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers and to your people, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field to his flock. And he said to them, I see how your father looks at me, that he is not friendly toward me before as before, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my might and power, but your father has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times. But God did not allow him to hurt me. If he said, the speckle shall be your wages, then the flock bore speckle, and if he said, the streak shall be your hire, then all the flock bore streaked. Thus God has taken away the flocks of your father and given them to me. And I have a dream that at the time the flock conceived, I looked up and saw that the rams which made it with the she goats were streaked, speckled, and spotted. And the angel of God said to me in the dream, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Look up and see. All the rams which mate with the flocks are streaked, speckled, and spotted. For I have seen all that Laban has done to you. For all that Laban does to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed the pillar and where you vowed a vow to me. Now arise, get out from this land and return to your native land. And Rachel and Leah answered him, Is there any portion of inheritance for us in our father's house? And are we not counted by him as strangers? For he sold us and also quite devoured our money, the price you paid for us. For all the riches which God has taken from our father our, are ours and our children. Now then, whatever God has said to you, do it. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives upon the camels, and he drove away all the livestock and all the gain which he had gotten. The livestock he had obtained and accumulated in Padan to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to share his sheep, possibly to the feast of the sheep shearing, and Rachel stole her father's household gods. And Jacob outwitted Laban the Syrian Aramean, in that he did not tell him that he intended to flee and slip away secretly. So he fled with all that he had, and arose and crossed the river Euphrates, and set his face towards the hill country of Gilead. But on the third day Laban was told that Jacob had fled. So he took his kinsmen with him and pursued Jacob for 7 days, and they overtook him in the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban the Syrian Aramean in a dream by night and said to him, Be careful that you do not speak from good to bad to Jacob, peaceably, then violently. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent on the hill, and Laban, coming with his kinsmen, pitched his tents on the same hill of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, What do you mean, stealing away and leaving like this without my knowing, and carrying off my daughter as if captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and cheat me, and did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with joy and gladness, and with singing, with tambourine and lyre? And why did you not permit me to kiss my sons, my grandchildren, my daughters goodbye? Now you have done foolishly in behaving like this. It is in my power to do you harm. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Be careful that you do not speak from good to bad to Jacob, peaceably, then violently. And now you felt you must go because you were homesick for your father's house. But why did you steal my household gods? Jacob answered Laban, because I was afraid, for I thought, suppose you would take your daughters from me by force, then one with whom you find those gods of yours, let him not live. Here before our kinsmen, search my possessions and take whatever you find that belongs to you. But Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen the images. So Laban went into Jacob's tent, into Leah's tent, and the tent of the two maids, but he did not find them. Then he went from Leah's tent into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images gods, and put them in the camel's saddle and sat on them. And Laban searched and felt through all of the tent, but did not find them. And Rachel said to her father, do not be displeased, my lord, that I cannot rise up before you. For the period of a woman is upon me, and I am unwell. And he searched, but did not find the gods. Then Jacob became angry and reproached and argued with Laban. And, and Jacob said to Laban, what is my fault? What is my sin that you so hotly pursued me? Although you have searched and felt all of my household possessions. What have you found of all your household goods? Put it here before my brethren and yours, that they may judge and decide between us. The 20 years I have been with you, your ewes and your she goats have not lost their young, and the rams of your flock have not been eaten by me. I did not bring you the carcasses of the animals torn by the wild beasts. I bore the loss of it. You required of me to make good all that was stolen, whether it occurred by day or by night. This was my lot. By day the heat consumed me, and by night the cold, and I could not sleep. I have been 20 years in your house, and I served you 14 years for your two daughters, and 6 years for your flocks. And you have changed my wages 10 times. And if God, my father, the God of Abraham, the dread lest he should fall, in fear lest he offend of Isaac, had not been with me, surely you would have sent me away now empty handed. God has seen my affliction and humiliation and the wearing labor of my hands, and rebuked you last night. Laban answered Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, these children are my children, these flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But when but what can I do today to these my daughters or to my children whom they have borne? So come now, let us make a covenant or league, you and I, and let it be for the witness between you and me. So Jacob set up a stone for a pillar or a monument. And Jacob said to his brethren, gather stones, and they took stones and made a heap, and they ate together upon their heap. Laban called it Jegar Shaduthia, witness heap in Aramaic, but Jacob called it Galit, witness heap in Hebrew. Laban said, "This heap is a witness today between you and me." Therefore, it was named Galit. And the pillar of the monument was called Mesphah, watchpost. For he, Laban, said, "May the Lord watch between me and you when you are absent and hidden from one another. If you should afflict, humiliate, or lower, divorce my daughters, or if you should take two otherwise besides my daughters, although no man is with us, no to witness. See, remember, God is witness before you and me." And Laban said to Jacob, "This is the heap, and this pillar, which I have set up between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this pillar is a witness, that I may not pass by this heap, and that you will not pass by this heap and this pillar to me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, and the God, the object of worship of their father Terah, an idolater, judged between us, but Jacob swore only by the one true God, and the dread and fear of the father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his brethren to eat food, and they ate food and lingered all night on the mountain. And early in the morning, Laban rose up and kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and pronounced a blessing, asking God's favor over them. Then Laban departed and returned to his home. Then Jacob went up, Genesis 32. Then Jacob went on his way, and God's angels met him. Then Jacob saw that he saw them. When Jacob saw them, this is God's army. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's army." So he named that place Mahanaim. Please excuse me for butchering the names. Not really good at the names. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother, and in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, "Say this to my lord Esau, your servant Jacob says this: I have been living temporarily with Laban, and have stayed there till now. And I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, men servants, and women servants, and I have sent to, to tell my lord that I may find mercy and kindness in your sight." And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and now he is on his way to meet you, and 400 men are with him." Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people who were with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels into two groups, thinking if Esau came to the one group and smite it, then the other group will escape. Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, 'Return to your country and to your people, and I will do you good.' I am not worthy of the least of all mercy and loving kindness and all faithfulness which you have shown to your servant. For with only my staff I passed over the Jordan long ago. Now I have been now I have become two companies. Deliver me, I pray you, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him lest he come and smite us all with mothers with the children. And you said, I will surely do good and make your descendants as the sand in the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitask. And Jacob lodged there that night and took from what he had with him as a present for his brother Esau 200 she goats, 200 eels, and 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts and cows, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 she donkeys, and 10 donkey colts. And he put them in the charge into the charge of the servants. Every drove by itself, and said to his servants, pass over before me and put space between drove and drove. And he commanded the first, when Esau, my brother, meets you and asks to whom you belong, where you are going, and whose the animals before you, then you shall say, they are your servants Jacob's. It is present and sent to my lord Esau, and moreover, he is behind us. And so he commanded the second and the third, and all followed the drove, saying, this is what you are to say Esau when you meet him. And say, moreover, your servant Jacob is behind us, for he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me. Afterward, I will see his face, and perhaps he will accept me. So the present went before him, and he himself lodged that night in the camp. But he rose up that same night and took his 2 wives, his 2 women servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford of the Jabbok. And he took them and sent them across the brook. He also sent them over all that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. And when the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and Jacob's thigh was put out of the joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, let me go, for the day is breaking. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you declare a blessing upon me. The man asked him, what is your name? And in shock of realization, whispering, he said, Jacob, supplanter, schemer, trickster, and whistler. And he said, your name shall be called no more Jacob, supplanter, but Israel, contender with God. For you have contended and have the power with God and with men, and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked him, tell me, I pray you, what in contrast is your name? But he said, why is it that you ask my name? And the angel of God declared a blessing upon Jacob there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, the face of God, saying, for I have seen God's face, the face, and my life is spared and not snatched away. And as he paused, Peniel, the sun rose upon him, and he was limping because of his thigh. That is why this day the Israelites do not enter the Sinai of the hip hop into sent out of the hip hop, which is on the hollow of the thigh, because the angel of the Lord touched and borrowed the hollow of the thigh, hollow of Jacob's thigh, and on the canal of the hip. That is it for today's reading. I hope you enjoyed it. God bless you guys. Sinking in the mud, a tired line of farmers faced the empire, faced the flood. Iron mouths and scarlet marched with fire in their eyes, but the homegrown hands were steady and the smoke rose to the skies. Tell the night to hold, tell the line don't break. There's a name up front and a country wide awake. George Washington, lead us through the fire. George Washington, left this fading choir. George Washington, set the borderlines. George Washington, we belong to Jesus tonight. At Valley Forge the winter bit through bone and prayer. Ration scarce, but something held the hunger in the air. He stood with tattered officers in the bitter wind and snow. Said if we fall together, then our seed will still grow. Tell the dark to wait, tell the fear step back. There's a hand above on this ragged, bleeding track. George Washington, lead us through the fire. George Washington, lift this fading choir. George Washington, set the borderlines. George Washington, we belong to Jesus tonight. No crown for the moment, no chain for the dawn. Just a people on their knees and a vow that carried on. Lay the field of mercy, lay the sword down clean. Dedicate the nation to the King of Kings. George Washington, lead us through the fire. George Washington, lift this fading choir. George Washington, set the borderlines. George Washington, we belong to Jesus tonight. George Washington, hammer him in flames. George Washington, George Washington, bless the land by name. George Washington, George Washington, hear the whole world ring. George Washington, Jesus is our King.